How would it feel to have a thriving fitness business and have the freedom to enjoy life at the fullest? Well, that is exactly what the Trainer Revenue Multiplier Show is going to give you. My name is Mathew Park. This is Jaime Filer.
Hey guys.
And we are here to serve.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are listening from. Welcome to the Trainer Revenue Multiplier Show. As always, I am your host, Jaime Filer, and I am here today. I have the honor of being here today with Mr. Isaac Miller of Prolific PT. Sir, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing awesome. How are you?
I'm very well. I'm very well. Thank you. So you were obviously our first choice when it came to the topic of client nurturing and client fulfillment. Now, I don't quite know when that evolution happened and you just became the check-in guy, but I have to say I love it. And when you did your platinum presentation on your check-in process, I believe we all essentially rebuilt ours, really. So Isaac, why don't you talk about, I guess, because we all have each part of our businesses, each part of our individual businesses kind of have a genesis, right? So what was the genesis of your OG client check-in process?
Honestly, first of all, thanks for letting me be here and talking on this. I really appreciate it. And I think the process of coaching as a whole is something that we tend to look at from a very selfish perspective. And I don't mean that as in like we're inherently just selfish and mean, but this is our job. This is our livelihood. This is how we pay our bills. This is how we provide for our families. So whenever we think of our clients and everything, we think of just the process that's simple for us, that's easy for us, that we can do. And oftentimes it's not easy for us. It's not simple for us. And it comes from a place of no real organization. And in turn, the client experience is very scattered, client to client. It's not consistent. One client might get what they think is amazing, check-in process, and another client feels like they're completely neglected. So how can we make this even across the board? So for me, that OG moment was like thinking about my check-in process from the perspective of the client from start to finish. What is the client seeing? And now not just the specific client, what are all of my clients seeing? Is it consistent now across the board? Is every client getting the best coaching experience, and is it consistent? And though every client is different, the check-in process I realized was once it was just like a streamlined process, adherence to the programming went up. The clients were all saying that they really liked the process. It was easier to stick to. They were looking forward to the check-ins. I noticed that even in my mind, I was like, I feel like I'm doing less on this check-in process. The clients are enjoying it more and I'm seeing more progress. So obviously I'm not doing anything wrong here. So then I decided just to really systemize it, put it out into like an SOP. And then I brought it to the platinum group and taught that. And that was just kind of my process. Everyone's looks different, but even if, your check-in process looks different from mine, your check-in process should still be somewhat consistent client to client. That's what a system is. And so for me, it was just really looking at the system from the client's perspective.
So tell me what Streamline looks like in the Prolific PT business and how you would define it.
Yeah. So in the Prolific PT business, Streamline check-ins is really just making sure that your clients have a clear map and guide. And with that map and guide doesn't change, like the process, the actual walk itself might change client to client, but where they're going, and if you actually have niched down your clientele and understand who you're serving, it's not going to differ much. Mm-hmm. And it shouldn't differ much. If it does, then you're going to just completely exhaust yourself as a coach. And in order to really scale your business, your clients should all kind of fit a similar demographic. And so that check-in process for us is very geared towards the Gen Pop, fat loss, contest prep, like, it's what you would typically go to a PT service for coaching for. And so we make sure that like we have a set day that check-ins happen, and it's the same day every week. And whenever that check-in happens, the next day they're going to get their update. This was one of the first days I've ever had to message clients because my check-in process is on Tuesdays, updates on Wednesdays. I'm moving to a new city. So today was like one of the first times I've had to message my clients to be like, hey, I apologize for the delay. I'm a day late. I apologize. I'm getting updates out. Not a single complaint, because the process is so streamlined that it's hard to almost miss it unless something in life happens. And so with that, my clients have given me a lot more freedom and leniency, because like I was like, man, I feel bad, I'm missing this. And they're like, dude, don't worry about it. You're
moving.
Yeah. Like, you're fine.
Yeah.
But it's also, when it's streamlined like that, I realized that I had way more time freedom.
Okay.
And that was a huge thing too, because now instead of spending an hour on each check-in, it might actually only take me 10 to 15 to 20 minutes, because their program's already made. I just have to go in and make little tweaks and adjustments. And then we do a Loom video that I go and I show what changes I made, explain why I made them, but I don't over deliver. Too often I see a lot of new coaches and even seasoned coaches do like whole essays, like 4-page essays on Gmail to talk about the changes and everything, or then a Loom video, and you'll have some coach be like, yeah, my Loom videos are like 20, 30 minutes, you know, we're really diving. I'm like, why? Yeah. That's a consultation. And it's great to do consultations. Make all the free consultations you want, but don't get it confused. That's not a check-in. That's not an update.
Right.
And so once I kind of define that for myself and help define that for my team, again, notice the clients enjoyed it more, adhered to it more, and saved us more time.
Yep. Now, I know that, I mean, as you mentioned, regardless of how you run your check-ins, there should still be a system. Isaac, what are the do's and don'ts? I mean, my business, very different than yours, very different than Ross and Emily's, but are there blanket do's and don'ts for check-ins with a client?
I never say that there's do's and don'ts, just because anyone can make something work for them.
Okay, most optimal,
but
less optimal.
But I would say the biggest don't, or the biggest do, depending on how you look at it, is if you feel anxiety when it comes to check-ins, you need to change your process.
Okay.
That is the absolute number one thing, that if you feel anxiety going into your check-ins, like, I have so many check-ins, I don't have enough time, my clients aren't seeing results, or I know this client's going to ask me a million questions, or that is, you need to at that point change your check-in process.
Okay.
Because it's not working for you. That is like the number one goal. The number two, I would say, is don't overcomplicate. That is something that I've seen way too many coaches do. And all the coaches that I've talked to, literally all of them, who have said that check-ins cause anxiety, I've asked them how long it takes each check-in, and they're like, oh, 30, 40, 50 minutes.
And there it is.
Well, that's not a single person that I've talked to who says that check-ins cause anxiety. Not a single one I've talked to have a streamlined check-in process where it's only like 10 minutes per check-in.
Right. Not
a single one. Everyone who has their check-in process streamlined, business is going great. They're scaling and they're focusing on other parts of their business and actually impacting and helping people. And that is across the board. So if you're one of those people where check-ins make you anxious, or you're taking a long time and you feel like you need to because you're serving, look at the people who are already hyper successful in that space. And don't just look, because I used to have this mistake of looking at them and thinking like, well, they're not actually serving their people. You know, I'm serving mine because I'm taking more time. That was a huge fallacy that I put on myself, because their clients are happy. Obviously, I'm doing something wrong. Their clients are happy. And so I had to bite my own ego and be like, I obviously I'm doing something wrong because I'm exhausted. I'm anxious. I'm tired. I don't want to do this. I get irritable on check-ins. And in reality, I was just over complicating it in my head. And what I really needed to do was just make the changes that were absolutely necessary, explain the changes that were absolutely necessary, not everything. Mm-hmm. And this is something where, again, this is just for me. because some people are in this space. But again, I'm not a licensed therapist. I want to know what's going on in their life. I genuinely do. If I have a client who's going through a divorce and is like really struggling with life, trying to manage their relationship with their kids, it's going to cause a physiological effect in their body. Right. And stress is going to cause things. So I want to know about those. And I want them to be able to come to me and unload some of that burden. But at the same time, I'm not going to give them life advice in return. That's not my job. My life is a lot different from theirs, and I might steer them the wrong way on accident. Yeah. And so it's out of my scope of practice, and I don't have liability for that. So check-ins, I don't go into all these life things, life issues. I explain, thank you so much for sharing what you're struggling with. And that takes a lot of courage to share that. And I appreciate it. So what we're going to do is we're going to lower stress. We're going to lower training this week. Let's take out the leg day, because I know that's going to cause a lot of water inflammation, and your brain's already very stressed, and cortisol is going to cause that already. Those are the changes that I, as a coach, need to make. I don't need to tell you, well, you need to tell your wife that she needs to start doing a morning routine because you're having, like, that's not my place, you know? And so as coaches, we oftentimes, I think, pick the wrong time and place to get too personal. Yeah. And like I said, if you want to do a free consultation, do free consultations. If you have that kind of relationship with your clients, that's great. Check-ins isn't the time to really dive into that, because you're going to find yourself spending more time week after week, and it inevitably is going to cause anxiety and just fear around the check-in process.
Right. Right. Now, you mentioned that you have everyone send their updates on Tuesday, and then you get to them on Wednesday. Is there a reason for that? I guess I don't want to call it a lag in a bad way, but is there a reason you don't just start them as they come in on Tuesday?
Absolutely. All of my clients are very busy people. I work with entrepreneurs who are trying to get on stage. I work with nighttime trauma nurses who are on prep. So on Tuesday, from literally 3 a.m. all the way till about midnight, I'm getting emails. Right. And if in my mind, I needed to do a check-in every time it was emailed in, I would be working all Tuesday, be anxious all Tuesday, and have 0 of my other tasks done. Right. I wouldn't, and you know, like, we're busy people. Every minute of our day is kind of accounted for. Yeah. So if I was stopping every time, and also my brain would register that ding on my phone of an email is an anxiety response that I need to go to. Yeah. I used to do that. I used to, every time I get an email with a check-in, I would stop what I was doing. I would do the update, send it back. Awful. Yeah. Awful. And so when I switched it, I just said, this is the way we do business. And in the consultation, when they say, like, yeah, I want to sign up, I even say, like, check-ins are on Tuesday. The updates you'll get on Wednesday. If life happens, I will let you know. I apologize. You're going to be getting it on Thursday, but typically that doesn't happen. Right. And so no one complained. No one ever complained. And then I have some people like, well, contest prep, you know, the show's on Saturday. Well, that's fine. 6 weeks out, your check-in changes to Saturday. And then at 4 weeks out, your check-ins go to phone, where we have more consistent communication. Yeah. And that's just contest prep specifically. And once I enacted that change and just said, this is the way we do business, which is what systems are, you know, allow us to say, this is just how things happen. No one complained. Yeah. And not only did I not complain, I got a lot of positive feedback on just the consistency. Yeah. And people didn't understand how professional coaching could be. Yeah. And that is something where I was even talking to a friend of mine today, where, like, Prolific PT, we want to bring passion and professionalism back into the fitness space. And I feel like this, as much as I love the fitness industry, and the market's gotten so oversaturated with people who aren't actually certified coaches and have been doing this for a long time. Right. And so the idea of what coaching actually is has been kind of watered down. Yep. And we see that go into how we function as coaches, how we function our businesses. And too many times new coaches kind of act like it's still just a part of their life. Like this is just a hobby that I love doing. I'm passionate about it, and people have asked me to coach, so I'm going to do it. But then that's how you build your business. If that's what you're doing from the start, that's how you're going to scale it. Yeah. And that is a road to destruction. And it's something that we've all walked before, and why I'm very happy and thankful for something like TRM to teach us the right way from the start. So we're not, paddling without an oar, and
Absolutely.
just, out there going. So, but yeah, back to the check-in process. When going through TRM, it was clear to see that my time and return of investment on that time wasn't good. And so Matthew didn't even have to say it. He was just kind of looking at the amount of time I spent, he's like, you're spending a lot of time just on the client themselves, which is great, but like it's kind of causing the other areas to suffer. And when those areas suffer, obviously the client's going to suffer. Like,
Yep.
You have to look at it as a whole. And then it clicked on, like, it just clicked. I was like, if I can optimize my time, I'm going to optimize my client experience.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. But that starts honestly with the check-in process.
I love that. I love that perspective. And you mentioned time management. You said specifically, essentially every hour of our day is accounted for. And I couldn't agree more. Now, for those of you listening, you might be thinking to yourself, holy crap, I have 50 clients. I just don't want to answer all of the check-ins on a Wednesday. What's the solution? I will give you another option. I, for example, have 2 hours every morning that I answer emails specifically. So Monday to Friday, if you check in if you check in on Monday, I will get to it between 8 and 10 a.m. on Tuesday. If you check in on Tuesday, I will get to it between 8 and 10 a.m. on Wednesday. And that is how my workload is divided, because I was 100% one of those people that you mentioned, Isaac, that would see that number, the little red number in the mail app go up and said, this person needs it. No, they don't, because they're not going to implement it. It's 3:30 in the afternoon. They're not even going to implement the macro changes till tomorrow. They don't need a response right now. So guys, feel free to, again, let's reference TRM. We have something called Understand It, Build It, Book It. And what we do is we have you organize your days the same way Isaac has, that's made him so successful with his system, same way I have. A specific amount of time, 60 minutes, 90 minutes, 120 minutes, 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, Monday through Friday. And that is your check-in process. How many times, Isaac, have you changed or amended? We won't say change, but like amended your check-ins?
Completely changed twice. Amended constantly.
Ongoing.
And that's something where I feel like now I've gotten in a really good system, but even then there's ways I know I can optimize it. It's just right now it'll take some time to like actually optimize by transitioning into different softwares and stuff. But I feel like if you're not at least once a quarter looking back at your processes and thinking, how can I make this a little bit better, then you're failing as a coach. And that's not just like, and I feel like this is important just as coaches, like you're always trying to learn, always trying to, because the fitness space is always changing. Research is always coming out. There's always different stuff. So as a good coach and coaching practitioner, you want to always be in that research, but at the same time, you have to do that same thing for your business. You have to be thinking, how can I update my business? How can I update my workflow? How can I update my ability to serve and to impact? Industry is always changing. Technology is always changing and innovating, and there's always better ways to do things. So I'm at least once a quarter going through and looking back and thinking like, okay, where am I spending most of my time? Where am I spending most of my resources? Who can help me with this if I need help with something? And then implementing and experimenting. And for me, it might be like whenever I did the TRM engine and I transferred all of my clients over to that, I started with just 5 clients. And I transitioned 5 clients over to the TRM engine for the check-in process. And then they did it. I asked them, how was this check-in process compared to the old one? All of them like, this was way easier. This was way simple. I got the text reminder. I clicked on it. The check-in came up. I uploaded my pictures. I did the questions. It was all just really easy from my phone. Great. That's awesome feedback. I transitioned everyone to it. No one complained. But experiment, figure out what's there, what's available to you, what can help you. Try it out with a couple clients. If it works, then transition the rest.
Yeah, I think that's great. You mentioned feedback, crowdsource. Like you might hear this podcast, be super inspired by what Isaac is doing and completely revamp. But all of your clients were like, wait a second. Hi, there was nothing wrong with the old way, right? So I think that's great. Get some feedback on it. Hey, is there something that, or if you notice in the check-ins, people are always missing the fact that there's a second tab on the bottom, right? They never look for that second tab. Maybe we just ask them if they want to remove the second tab. Should we just make this longer as opposed to doing 2 tabs, right? Let's ask them. And then, like Isaac said, guinea pig, maybe a couple of your clients, several of your clients, maybe the ones who aren't as technologically advanced, right? The lower common denominator. And then if it works, right?
Yeah, I like it. And I'll always bring it back to the client experience. That's the most important thing. The client experience is, if you can see the check-in process from your client's eyes, is it streamlined? Is it consistent? Is it clear to them? And with the TRM engine, for example, I was able to put myself in their shoes before I sent it to them. And I was like, okay, if I use this software, what would they see? Okay, it's Tuesday morning. I wake up and the first thing I see on my phone is a notification from Coach Isaac saying, hey, it's Coach Isaac here, just reminding you that your check-ins today, just click this link and it'll bring you to your check-in form.
Yeah.
That's what they see. They do it. It's super easy. And then it gets automatically sent to me.
Right.
That was right there enough for me to be like, wow, that was a really good experience for them. I'm going to switch to this. While as before, it might have been like, what is the client experience here? Okay, it's Tuesday. They don't have a notification. They might remember. They might forget. I want it when they're fasted, when they first wake up, but that's probably not going to happen because they're not getting reminded. I have too many clients to text all of them the night before, so I'm just hoping that they remember. I might get some on Wednesday. I might get some on Monday. I don't know. They're going to have to go to their email. They're going to have to actually go find the questionnaire I first sent them whenever I signed them on. They're going to have to copy and paste that list over to their email, answer all the questions, upload their pictures, then email it back. Not a horrible process, but not great for them. Mm-hmm. Which one seemed more simple for them? It was the same for me either way. I was just getting
you get the information, yeah.
But for them, one was a world of difference.
Yeah.
And that right there, if you can, whether it's check-ins, whether it's your programming, whether it's the software you use, whether it's your workouts, whatever, if you can make the client experience, if you can invest more into the people you already have, you're going to grow your business. And something as simple as focusing on check-ins a little more and optimizing your check-ins. We spend a lot of time optimizing our marketing campaigns. We spend a lot of time optimizing the way we do our content creation and the way we reach out to people and the way we prospect. And oftentimes our clients are put on the back burner.
Right.
If we can make their experience amazing, word of mouth and referrals are still our greatest organic lead gen. Sure. Why are we not spending more time optimizing our client experience? And if you do that, and especially when it comes to check-in process, you're going to see your business grow.
Isaac, I don't think we could have ended on a more profound note that people can also take action on and start executing on right away. So I just want to thank you so much for your wisdom and your knowledge. We definitely appreciate having you on here.
I appreciate it, Jamie.
Guys, thank you so much for listening. Go crowdsource, go get feedback on your check-in process. If it makes you anxious, you need to change something. Thanks for listening to the Trainer Revenue Multiplier Show. Please make sure to subscribe, rate us. If you received value from Isaac, then please share the podcast with your friends, as well as Facebook and Instagram. Follow Isaac online. Isaac, where can they find you?
Instagram is The Prolific Professor. TikTok, same thing. And website, prolificpt.com.
Amazing. Amazing, guys. Thank you all so much for listening. We appreciate you. Until next time on the Trainer Revenue Multiplier Show.